Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to the show. My name is DDare Bionic, if you did not know, and I am back with a very emotional video. All right, here we are. We're back again. Episode 3. I am reviewing The Last of Us, the series. If you haven't seen my other videos, click the little title card above. It'll take you to my other 2 reviews of the series so far. Like I said in all of those videos, I am an avid gamer. I love these games. I was excited to see these turned into a TV series. And this episode, buckle up, y'all, because it's going to get gay. There have been many liberties taken with the series thus far, and if you haven't noticed, the world, myself included, has been incredibly okay with these liberties that have been taken. They've done a great job, like I've said a million times, and probably will continue to say, building this world, making these characters real and believable, and expanding on what is already a really rich and diverse story with The Last of Us. And this episode is no different. Actually, it is quite different. So if you've played the games, you would know that we come upon this character named Bill, who is kind of like a doomsday prepper type. And in the past, he had a partner named Frank. Him and Joel, Bill and Joel are acquainted and know each other. And the story of Bill and Frank is a little ambiguous in the video game series, though I myself felt a deeper emotional connection than what is kind of portrayed in the video game. And it was 2013 when this game initially came out, and I don't think at the time they did make it expressly that they were gay or whatever because of any type of anything. It seems like the creators of the games are very forward-thinking people, and obviously, they made Ellie a lesbian in the second game, spoiler alert, but they didn't go deep into the history of Bill and Frank, and it's a video game. There's not much that you can really do to build those characters, but in this one scene that you have with Bill, the emotion so in the game, Bill finds Frank dead due to unaliving, and he's got several bites on him, so it's clear that he unalived himself because he didn't want to turn, which is noble in that circumstance. But the emotion, the sheer emotion and hurt, both on Bill's face and in the voice actor's voice. I personally always felt, especially the fact that he introduced him as his partner, it wasn't this is my partner as in like this is someone that I work with. There was an emotional weight to the way he said it, and
he was my partner. He's the only idiot that would wear a shirt like that. He's got bites here.
So I personally always just kind of said those characters were queer. Even if it was just out of there ain't nobody else in the world, but those 2 characters were especially queer. All that being said, last night's episode made the world go crazy in a good way, finally, with this absolutely stunning love story between Bill and Frank that ends so beautifully, but so tragically. And listen, before I get into this episode, this will be the first time that I actually kind of chronicle the episode because it is so different from the game. And this is the first time, and they say that this episode is kind of the one that really deviates the most from what happens in the game. But this was absolutely, it was just good TV. The acting was simply incredible. Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett. I have no words. It was a very stunning and beautiful and romantic and real. It just was so good. Y'all, it was such a good episode. It was perfect. Each episode has gotten better. I enjoyed episode 1. I'd give episode 1 probably an 8 out of 10. I'd give episode 2 like a 9 out of 10. Well, honestly, I would give episode 2 a 10 out of 10. And episode 3 like a 20 out of 10. Like, it really just did it. You know, they made the choice. They don't apologize for it. And good on you. Good on you. Let's get into what happens in the episode. Okay, let me stop gushing and get into what actually happens. This is probably going to be the shortest review I ever post. The long and short of the story is that Ellie and Joel have left Tess. She unfortunately dies in episode 2. They're walking. They're on their way to meet Bill and Frank. And as they're walking, they find like a plane wreck and all this stuff that Ellie has never seen before. And they stumble upon these remains, and they use the remains as a way to flashback. Oh, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. They use the remains as a way to flashback to when things first started getting crazy. And they're in this town. They show this woman and her baby whose remains you see before the flashback. And Bill has completely prepped himself for the apocalypse. He is ready. He's downstairs in his basement. The government, military are all trying to... and Bill is portrayed by Nick Offerman. Frank is portrayed by Murray Bartlett. But we see Bill in his basement with his cameras. He's like looking around. He's like, okay. Once everyone is gone, he goes and he is ready. He's set. He's got food. He's got wine. He's got everything he needs. And I think I forget the time jump, the way it works. But basically, either a couple of years or sometime later, in one of his booby traps that he set up around his compound, a guy falls into the hole. And this guy is Frank. And initially he's very, Frank is like, I'm trying to get to Boston. We just left Baltimore. It's gone. Like, it's going crazy. I'm the last, basically, survivor of the group that I left with. And Bill is initially very much like, okay, you can get to Boston that way. You got to go. But you can tell that he doesn't really want him to leave. And then Frank is like, can I at least eat? I haven't eaten in a couple days. And Bill invites him into his home, lets him take a shower, feeds him. They have like a really nice dinner together with wine. And it's in this point that I'm like, this is gay. I smell the homosexuality coming from the television, and I'm here for it. My partner and I were making jokes about,
You're too big to fit in here.
them having relations.
You're too big to fit in here. Too big to fit in here.
And all this stuff, because it just felt very homoerotic. It all just felt very much that. And I was like, this is reminding me of the game. Even though none of this happened, this is reminding me of how I felt about this character in the game. So they are essentially, they've had dinner. Murray, LOL. Frank finds or sees that Bill has a piano, and he goes to play Linda Ronstadt on the piano. And it was super funny. The moment was like really funny. Bill is like, absolutely not. Like, no, he makes him stop playing because it was kind of bad. And Bill sits down at the piano and starts to play, and it's very beautiful, and he sings. And Bill is like, or Frank is like, who is the girl you're singing about? And I'm getting them confused now. Bill goes, there is no girl. And Frank says, I know. And we are like, they're going to kiss. Like, it's going to happen. They're going to kiss. And they kiss. Oh, and it's such an emotional, because in a way you could be like, oh, well, it's never said that Bill is gay, that he was, had a partner before, anything of this sort in his life. you could say that he's been alone for several years, and I think it's actually 2 years. He's been alone for all this time, and he was craving human connection without really realizing it. And I think a lot of that does play into why the kiss happened. But what happens next? Ain't no heterosexual. There is nothing heterosexual about what happens next. So Frank is like, go take a shower. And Bill goes to take a shower. And when he comes out, Frank is in the bed, naked. And they proceed to do the do. And Frank is like, I ain't no hoe. Literally, his literal words, I'm not a whore. If I do this, I'm staying for a couple days. And Bill is like, work, okay. And they have relations. Fast forward 3 years and Frank is still there. It just made so much sense that, if you find someone that it's the end of the world, you're alone, you meet someone, whether it's, their relationship is so beautiful in its tragedy. There's so much that just happens to them, without them really choosing for it to happen. Them being together, they didn't choose to be together until they did. And, 2 days turns into 3 years, turns into their entire rest of their lives. So, what's his name? Frank is there, and he starts renovating things in the town, and he's like, we're gonna make friends. I've been communicating with someone over the radio. Turns out that person is Tess. Tess brings Joel, and Joel, Tess, Bill, and Frank have lunch out on the in the front yard, and it's a really cute normalcy that I can see being weird for Bill and exhilarating for Frank, because they're such polar opposites. Bill has been this kind of shut-in introvert person his entire life, and Frank is an extrovert, needs connection, and they just complement each other so well. So that's how we found out that Joel and Bill are connected. After that, he's like, Raiders are gonna come, and Joel tells Bill that Raiders are gonna come, and his fence is weak and all this other stuff, and it does happen, and Bill gets shot. We think Bill is gonna die, but in fact, they grow old. So it seems that Frank is younger than Bill. It seems to be the case, because at one point they're going for a jog, and Bill is like, and Frank is spry and running, and they show us all this to make the end so much more tragic. Such good storytelling. The writing of this show is impeccable. The direction is impeccable. The acting in this episode. If this show doesn't get nominated for an Emmy, this episode alone should win an Emmy. Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett should win an Emmy for this episode. It was absolutely stunning. So, yeah, but there's one point where, they're jogging together, and Frank has bartered for seeds and grew strawberries, and they have strawberries for the first time. I am distraught. So it's implied that Bill is older than Frank, because he says, I'm sorry for getting older faster than you. So after that scene happens, the Raiders come, Bill gets shot, we think he dies, but it actually turns out that Murray saves his life, and that Murray, I believe, has MS, and which is shit, how do you, what do you do about having MS and there's literally nobody around? So he's in a wheelchair, we see him, there's a time jump to 2023 from 2013, so 10 years. So at this point, they've been together for 13 years. They are madly in love. Bill takes such good care of Frank. He's older. He does the best he can. And they have dinner. They go upstairs. Frank has painted all these paintings of Bill and all these other random paintings. And Frank decides that he is ready to go. He is ready to unalive. And initially, Bill protests. Frank is like, listen, I'm not living a life. I'm old. You know, I have gotten to spend my last years with the greatest love of my life. And he said, we're going to go. They had like a little boutique that Frank set up. He said, we're going to go to the boutique. We're going to wear the clothes that I pick. We're going to have a delicious dinner. And then I'm going to go. I'm trying to be as busy about this as possible because YouTube be acting crazy sometimes. So they do these things. Bill is obviously upset, and they go to the boutique. They get married. They put rings on each other. It's so beautiful and emotional. And then they have their dinner. Bill makes the very first dinner that he ever made for him when they first met. They have wine. Then they have tainted wine. If you know, you know. And they go to the bedroom, and you don't see them ever again. And just a short while later, Joel and Ellie show up, and they find a letter that Bill wrote saying, you know, that they have unalived, that they're take all the supplies you need. I have lived a long, beautiful life, all these other things. And it just is so, it really is a beautiful, beautiful queer love story. So Joel and Ellie shower. They change into their costumes not costumes, but they change into the clothes that they're similar to what they're wearing in the game, which is a nice little Easter egg. And they drive off with the car that Bill left for them after they charge the battery and take showers and stock up on supplies. And that's the end of the episode. But it really, what a way to... Let me just get into my final thoughts. All in all, this episode is, like I said at the beginning, the best episode so far. Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett really carried a heavy load with this episode because it's the first episode that is wildly different from the video game, and it's telling this backstory that we all knew was there and we all wanted to be there, but was never told until now. And my God, did they do a beautiful job telling this story. No, there's a little action, there's a little, but the stakes are love. And we don't get to see that very often in series like this that are about video games that are action based or end of the world, apocalyptic. We don't get to see that in these shows like this. So I am impressed that they were able to fit this story and create this beautiful, beautiful queer love story in the middle of the end of the world. It was gorgeous. It was absolutely stunning. And it was also a really great palate cleanser between the terror that are the clickers and the horror and anxiety that is going to be this next episode based on the preview of next week's episode, which seems to be swerving back into the lane of the game. I am continuing to be impressed and continuing to shoot my shot at Naughty Dog and HBO to put me in part 2 in the series. Yeah, I'm happy with the show so far, and this episode really did a lot. It really made some waves. That's all I got for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you next week with a brand new review. Obviously, I will be reviewing episode 4. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you get a notification every single time I post a video. That is twice a week. So make sure those notifications are on, honey. Mental Health Chat Monday is coming on Monday. That is just a few short days from now. I believe it's Tuesday, January 31st. It is 6 days from now. Mental Health Chat Monday will be returning with an introductory episode from moi. That is all. If you'd like to support me, my links are all down below in the description box. You can shop Lunar Times Hair Color, get a little bit of money off, as well as follow me on all my social medias. I'm at DDare Bionic on everything. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, y'all.